I buried my best friend in the same spot where he betrayed me. Not his body, not yet, just the idea of him, the ghost of who Marcus used to be. The dirt was cold under my knees as I dug, my hands trembling with rage and something heavier, something like grief. 10 years of brotherhood, promises, late-night talks about dreams we'd chased together, all reduced to this, a shallow grave in the woods behind my house, where I'd caught him whispering my secrets to someone who wanted me ruined. Marcus and I grew up in Willow Creek, a nowhere town in Ohio where the air smells like rust and regret. We were inseparable, two kids who'd rather face the world's punches together than alone. He was the charming one, all easy smiles and quick wit, while I, Darren, was the quiet shadow at his side, the one who thought too much. We built a life on trust. He knew everything, my fears, my plans, the business I'd poured my soul into. And then he sold me out. It started with whispers. My construction company, built from nothing but sweat and loans, was finally turning a profit. We were bidding on a big contract, new condos in Cleveland, the kind of deal that could have set me up for life. Marcus was my right-hand man, handling the books, charming the clients. But then I heard it, a rival company, owned by Evelyn Carter, had underbid us by a hair. They knew our numbers, our strategy, down to the penny. Only one person could have leaked that. Marcus. I confronted him that night in my office, the air thick with tension. "Darren, you're paranoid," he said, laughing it off, his eyes darting to the door. But I saw the truth in the way his hands twitched, the way he couldn't meet my gaze. I didn't push harder, not then. I needed proof. So I followed him, tailing his beat-up Chevy to these woods, where I saw him hand a folder to Evelyn's lackey, Travis. My plans, my numbers, my future, all in that folder. I wanted to scream, to tackle him into the dirt, but I stayed hidden, my heart pounding like a war drum. Now, kneeling in the dark, I buried the memory of our friendship. I'd spent weeks planning, not just revenge but justice. Marcus thought he'd won, thought I was too soft to fight back. He didn't know the fire he'd lit. Tomorrow, I'd start unraveling his life, piece by piece, the way he'd unraveled mine. But as I stood, wiping dirt from my hands, my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number: "You think you're the only one watching, Darren?" That text burned into my mind like a brand. You think you're the only one watching, Darren? I stood frozen in the woods, the air sharp with pine and betrayal, my breath catching as I scanned the shadows. Was someone out there, lurking just beyond the trees? Or was this Marcus, already playing games? I shoved the phone in my pocket and headed home, my plan unchanged but my nerves frayed. Revenge wasn't supposed to feel like a trap. The next morning, I started small. Marcus always bragged about his side hustle, some shady deal selling refurbished electronics. He thought he was untouchable, skimming cash under the table. I'd known about it for years but never cared, loyalty blinds you like that. Now, it was my weapon. I spent hours digging through public records, cross-referencing his suppliers. A guy named Carl, a greasy middleman in Columbus, was my target. I sent an anonymous tip to the tax board, detailing Carl's creative accounting and naming Marcus as his partner. Nothing lethal, just enough to make Marcus sweat. By noon, I was at the diner where Marcus and I used to grab coffee. He was there, laughing with a waitress, oblivious. I slid into the booth across from him, forcing a smile. "Hey, man," I said, my voice steady despite the rage in my chest. "Heard from Carl lately?" His smile faltered, just for a second, but it was enough. I leaned in, lowering my voice. "You should check your phone. Tax guys are sniffing around." I left before he could respond, his wide eyes following me out the door. I wasn't done. That afternoon, I met with Jenna, a reporter I knew from high school. She worked for the local paper, always hungry for a scoop. I fed her just enough, a tip about Marcus's shady deals, nothing traceable to me. "Protect your source," I told her, and she nodded, her pen already scratching. By tomorrow, Marcus's name would be in the paper, his reputation starting to crack. But that night, as I sat in my apartment, another text came, "Careful, Darren. Dig too deep, and you'll find things you don't want to know." My stomach twisted. This wasn't Marcus's style, he was too cocky for cryptic threats. Someone else was involved, someone who knew I was moving against him. I checked my locks, my pulse racing. Had I underestimated Evelyn? Or was there another player, someone closer than I thought? The newspaper hit the stands the next morning, and Marcus's name was plastered across page 3, local businessman linked to tax evasion probe. I read it over coffee, a grim satisfaction settling in my bones. Jenna had done her job well, painting Marcus as a small-time crook with big ambitions. I knew he'd be scrambling, calling Carl, maybe even Evelyn, trying to plug the leaks in his sinking ship. But I wasn't done tightening the screws. I drove to Evelyn's office, a sleek glass building that screamed money. She was the queen of Cleveland's construction scene, all sharp suits and sharper smiles. I'd met her once, at a networking event, where she'd sized me up like prey. Now, I needed to know how deep her alliance with Marcus ran. I posed as a potential client, using a fake name, Tom Reed, and got a meeting with her assistant, Travis. He was younger than I expected, all nervous energy and cheap cologne. I played dumb, asking about their bidding process, dropping hints about my interest in their recent condo deal. Travis was cagey, but he let slip that Marcus had been consulting for them for months. Months. The betrayal cut deeper than I'd imagined. Back home, I dug into Marcus's digital footprint. His email was a goldmine, sloppy passwords, no encryption. I found messages to Evelyn, not just about my bid but about me. "Darren's too trusting," one read. "He'll never see it coming." My hands shook as I read, the words fueling my resolve. I forwarded the emails to Jenna, anonymously, with a note, "Look into Evelyn Carter's business practices." If Marcus was going down, I'd make sure Evelyn felt the heat too. That night, I got another text, "You're playing a dangerous game, Darren. Back off, or you'll lose more than your company." This time, there was a photo attached, a blurry shot of me in the woods, digging that symbolic grave. My blood ran cold. Someone had been there, watching me. I called Marcus, my voice low and controlled. "Meet me tomorrow," I said. "We need to talk." He laughed, but it was forced. "Sure, buddy," he said. "But you're not gonna like what I have to say." Marcus chose the spot, an abandoned lot behind the old steel mill, where we used to sneak beers as kids. It was dusk when I pulled up, the sky bruised purple, the air heavy with the threat of rain. He was already there, leaning against his Chevy, a cigarette dangling from his lips. "You're wasting my time, Darren," he said, smirking, but his eyes were wary, like he knew I wasn't here to talk. I stepped closer, my voice low. "You sold me out, Marcus. My plans, my bid, everything to Evelyn." His smirk faded, replaced by a flicker of panic. He denied it, of course, spinning lies about coincidence and bad luck, but I wasn't buying it. I pulled out my phone, showed him a screenshot of his email to Evelyn. His face went pale. "Where'd you get that?" he stammered. I didn't answer. Instead, I told him about the tax probe, the newspaper article, the noose tightening around him. "You're done," I said. "Unless you give me something on Evelyn." He laughed, bitter and sharp. "You think you're in control? You're a pawn, Darren. Evelyn's got bigger players than you or me." Before I could press him, headlights cut through the dusk. A black SUV rolled up, and Travis stepped out, his face hard. "Time to go, Marcus," he said, his hand resting on something under his jacket. My heart pounded. This wasn't just about money anymore. I backed away, my mind racing. Marcus climbed into the SUV, his eyes locked on mine, a mix of fear and defiance. As they drove off, my phone buzzed again, you were warned. I didn't go home that night. The texts, the photo, Travis's veiled threat, they were pieces of a puzzle I didn't understand. I checked into a motel on the edge of town, paying cash, my paranoia in overdrive. Who was watching me? Evelyn? Travis? Or someone higher up, like Marcus had hinted? I needed answers, and I needed them fast. I started with Travis. A quick search on my laptop pulled up his name, Travis Monroe, ex-con turned consultant for Evelyn's company. His rap sheet was light, mostly petty theft, but it was enough to work with. I reached out to an old contact, a private investigator named Lucas, who owed me a favor. Find me dirt on Travis Monroe, I said. Anything that ties him to Evelyn or Marcus. Lucas promised results in 48 hours. Meanwhile, Jenna called. Her article on Marcus had stirred up trouble. Evelyn's company was now under scrutiny for irregular bidding practices. She wanted more, and I gave it to her, the emails, scrubbed of my involvement. This could bring her down, Jenna said, her voice buzzing with excitement. I felt a surge of triumph, but it was short-lived. That night, my motel room door rattled, like someone was testing the lock. I grabbed the baseball bat I'd brought, my heart in my throat, but no one came in. When I checked the parking lot, it was empty, except for a note on my windshield, "Stop digging, or you're next." Lucas came through the next day. Travis wasn't just Evelyn's lackey, he was her cousin, tied to her by blood and dirty money. Lucas had found bank records, shell companies, and a trail leading to a man named Victor, a silent partner in Evelyn's business. Victor was a ghost, no last name, no photo, but his name kept popping up in Marcus's emails too. Was he the one sending the texts? The one watching me? I needed an ally, someone I could trust. I called Claire, Marcus's ex-girlfriend, who'd always been kind to me. We met at a coffee shop, her eyes wary but curious. Marcus changed, she said, stirring her coffee. He got greedy, started working with people he shouldn't have. She didn't know about Victor, but she confirmed Evelyn had been pulling Marcus's strings for over a year. Be careful, Darren, she said. They're not just after your company. That night, I broke into Marcus's apartment. Stupid, reckless, but I was desperate. I found a burner phone hidden in a drawer, filled with texts to an unknown number, orders to keep Darren in line. My hands shook as I pocketed the phone. I was close to something big, something that could destroy them all. But as I slipped out, I heard footsteps behind me. I turned, ready to fight, but the hallway was empty. My phone buzzed, "You're in over your head." I was running out of time. The texts, the notes, the footsteps, they were closing in. I met Lucas again, this time at a dive bar. He handed me a file on Victor, Victor Hayes, a financier with ties to half the shady deals in Ohio. He was Evelyn's silent partner, the one bankrolling her rise, and Marcus's betrayal. The file included a photo, a man in his 50s, sharp-eyed, always in the shadows. I knew him. I'd seen him once, at that networking event, talking to Evelyn. He'd looked at me like he already knew my secrets. I decided to hit them where it hurt, their money. Using Marcus's burner phone, I sent a text to Victor, posing as Marcus, "Darren's on to us. We need to move the funds." I included a bank account number, mine, rerouted through a shell company Lucas set up. It was a gamble, but if Victor took the bait, I'd have proof of their crimes. Hours later, my account pinged, $50,000, transferred from an offshore account. I had them. But I'd underestimated Victor. That night, my motel room door burst open. Two men, faces masked, grabbed me before I could reach the bat. They dragged me to a warehouse, where Victor waited, his smile cold. "You're clever, Darren," he said. "But you're not family." He nodded, and pain exploded in my side. As I hit the floor, I heard him say, "Take him to the river." My vision blurred, but one thought burned clear: I wasn't done yet. The river was cold, the current pulling at my bruised body as I clawed my way to the surface. They'd beaten me, dumped me, thinking I was finished. But I wasn't. I crawled to shore, gasping, my mind racing. Victor, Evelyn, Marcus, they thought they'd won. They were wrong. I went to Jenna first, handing her everything: the bank records, the burner phone, Lucas's file. "Blow it wide open," I told her. She did. The next morning, the headlines screamed: Cleveland business tycoon linked to money laundering. Evelyn's empire crumbled, her name tied to Victor's dirty money. Marcus was arrested, his side hustle exposed as a front. Victor vanished, but I knew he'd resurface someday. I should have felt triumph, but I didn't. Revenge had cost me everything: my business, my peace, my trust in anyone. I moved to a new town, started over, but the weight of it all lingered. One night, months later, my phone buzzed. No text, just a photo: the woods, my shallow grave, freshly dug up. Someone was still watching.